Chapter 1: What People Notice Before Your First Word. There's a story about a portrait artist who spent years sketching strangers. Over time, he realized something unusual. Before people even spoke, they revealed more than they thought. The angle of someone's shoulders hinted at confidence or uncertainty. The way they held eye contact suggested comfort, hesitation, curiosity, or distance. Even the smallest facial expressions often reflected emotions people hadn't intended to show. What fascinated him wasn't appearance itself, it was how quickly people communicate who they are without saying anything. This is one of the most overlooked parts of human interaction. Long before conversation begins, impressions are already forming. People notice energy, posture, attention, pace, expression. Your body is already introducing you. Think about someone you've met who immediately felt calm, confident, or memorable. Often it isn't because they were the loudest, funniest, or most attractive person there. Usually it's because their presence made others feel comfortable. That feeling can be shaped. One powerful habit is creating a moment of recognition. Instead of giving the same automatic smile to everyone, allow yourself a brief second to actually notice the person in front of you. Then smile naturally, as if your expression appeared because of them, not out of routine. People often sense the difference. Attention matters too. When someone speaks, stay present. Hold eye contact naturally instead of letting your attention drift around the room. And when the moment ends, don't disconnect instantly. Leave space for the interaction to feel complete. This isn't about intensity or performance. It's about making someone feel acknowledged. Another small shift changes conversations more than people expect. Orient yourself fully toward people. When meeting someone new, turn your body, not just your head, in their direction. Give them the feeling that, for this moment, they have your full attention. We naturally do this with people or moments that matter deeply to us. And when we offer that same quality of attention in everyday interactions, people notice. None of these ideas are tricks. They're signals. They communicate respect, warmth, and presence before any conversation begins. And often, those first silent seconds become the foundation for everything that follows. Chapter 2: How Real Connection Actually Happens. Most people think small talk is awkward by default, something you have to get through before the real conversation starts. Because of that, they often rush it, overthink it, or try too hard to sound interesting. But connection doesn't usually come from impressive words. It comes from making another person feel comfortable enough to open up. There was once someone who seemed unusually good at conversations. They weren't the funniest or the smartest person in the room. Yet within a few minutes of talking, people felt understood and relaxed around them. What they did differently wasn't about clever phrases. It was about attention. They created a space where the other person felt safe to be themselves. Small talk in this sense isn't about performance. It's about bridging two people's realities. One key idea is matching energy. Before you speak, notice the other person's state. Are they calm or rushed, excited or tired, open or guarded? When you slightly adjust your tone and pace to meet them where they are, the conversation feels smoother almost instantly. It's not imitation, it's awareness. Another shift is removing pressure from yourself to be interesting. You don't need perfect stories or clever jokes. A simple, honest observation, spoken naturally, often works better than something rehearsed. People respond more to sincerity than to polish. There's also something powerful in giving people a reason to approach you. Humans are curious, but also cautious. If there is something distinctive about you, a small detail, an object, or even a way you present yourself, it gives others an easy entry point to start a conversation without feeling awkward. Once the conversation begins, direction matters. Instead of quickly turning the focus back to yourself, let the other person stay in the spotlight longer. Ask questions that allow them to expand. Show genuine curiosity instead of waiting for your turn to speak. When people feel that their thoughts are being valued, they naturally enjoy the interaction more. And when they enjoy it, they associate that feeling with you. Good conversation is not about domination or performance. It's about making the other person feel comfortable, heard, and slightly more open than they were a few minutes earlier. That's what turns small talk into real connection. Chapter 3: How Communication Shapes. How others see you. In every interaction, people are not only listening to what you say, they are also forming silent judgments about how you say it. Small details in language, tone, and behavior often shape how serious, credible, or approachable you appear. Many of these signals are subtle, but they add up quickly. One common situation is when people are asked simple questions like, "What do you do?" It seems harmless, but for some, it creates discomfort if their answer doesn't fit a traditional career path or clear label. A more open version of this question, such as asking how someone spends their time, can completely change the tone of the conversation. It allows people to talk not only about work, but also about interests, responsibilities, and what actually matters to them. Another important element is how you describe things. Language carries weight. When someone relies on vague, overused words like good or nice for everything, their communication can feel flat or forgettable. But when they choose more specific language, even simple alternatives that carry clearer meaning, their expression becomes more vivid and precise. This isn't about sounding sophisticated, it's about being understood more clearly. There is also a natural tendency in conversations to jump in quickly when we find common ground. When someone mentions something we relate to, we often rush to say, "me too," immediately. While the intention is to connect, it can sometimes interrupt the other person's moment of expression. Allowing them to finish their thought before responding creates a stronger sense of respect and presence. Another powerful shift is how you frame requests and statements. Focusing on the other person's perspective, how something affects them, or what they might consider, can change how your message is received. When communication is centered around you instead of I, it often feels less demanding and more cooperative. There is also something important in how humor is used. Jokes that rely on putting others down, even lightly, can slowly damage trust. People may laugh in the moment, but over time it can create distance. Communication that avoids making others the target tends to build a safer and more respectful atmosphere. Overall, this chapter is about awareness, not controlling every word, but noticing how your words land. Because communication is not just about expression, it is also about the impression you leave behind. And that impression often lasts longer than the conversation itself. Chapter 4: How Trust is Quietly Built and Broken. Trust between people is rarely created through one big moment. More often, it grows through small, almost invisible decisions in everyday interaction. How you respond when situations become uncomfortable or delicate often matters more than what you say in ideal conditions. There is a meaningful difference between reacting and responding with awareness. People who handle awkward or sensitive moments well tend to protect not only the situation itself, but also the dignity of everyone involved. Sometimes the most powerful choice is not to escalate tension, but to reduce it, allowing someone to keep their composure, even when they make a mistake, can preserve long-term connection far more effectively than proving a point in the moment. Another important skill is recognizing when something has gone slightly wrong in a conversation. Instead of ignoring it or making it uncomfortable, a gentle way of helping someone continue their thought can restore flow and make them feel supported rather than exposed. These small interventions often leave a stronger impression than anything dramatic. Honesty also plays a key role in building trust. When intentions are unclear or hidden, people eventually sense it. Even if they cannot fully explain why, something feels off. Directness, when delivered respectfully, tends to create more stability than indirect strategies. This doesn't mean saying everything without thought. It means being clear enough that others don't feel they are guessing your motives. Timing and context are equally important. Not every moment is suitable for serious topics or sensitive requests. Social situations each have their own unspoken boundaries. Some are meant for connection and ease, others for planning or problem solving. Respecting these boundaries helps people feel safe around you. When people feel safe, they open up more easily. And when they open up, trust develops naturally, not because it was forced, but because it was supported. In the end, trust is not built through perfection. It is built through consistency, respect, and the ability to protect the emotional space of others. Chapter 5: Why People Need to Feel Heard Before They Listen. One of the most overlooked truths in communication is that people rarely become open to new ideas until they feel fully understood first. When someone is emotional, whether they are frustrated, excited, worried, or overwhelmed, they are not immediately ready for solutions or advice. What they need first is space to express what they are feeling. If that expression is interrupted too early, the emotional weight doesn't disappear. It simply stays unresolved in the background and continues to affect the conversation. This is why patience in listening is so powerful. Letting someone fully explain their experience without rushing to fix it or redirect it often changes the entire tone of the interaction. People begin to relax when they feel they are not being cut off or minimized. Another important element is emotional reflection. Instead of responding only to facts, acknowledging how someone feels can create deeper understanding. Even a simple recognition of emotion, naming the likely feeling behind their words, can make a person feel genuinely seen. It is not about agreeing or disagreeing, it is about recognition. There is also value in turning mistakes into repair rather than conflict. When something goes wrong in an interaction, the way it is handled can either create distance or build connection. Taking responsibility and finding ways to restore balance often strengthens trust more than if nothing had gone wrong at all. Sometimes even small gestures of consideration can shift how a relationship develops. Quiet appreciation of someone's effort or recognition given at the right moment can have a lasting effect on how they perceive you. At the same time, not every situation requires confrontation. In some cases, stepping back gracefully is more effective than trying to correct or expose someone. Protecting your own boundaries without creating unnecessary tension is often the more mature response. Ultimately, communication is not just about exchanging information, it is about managing emotional states, both yours and the other person's. When people feel emotionally safe, understood, and respected, They naturally become more open, more cooperative, and more willing to engage. That is where real influence begins, not through pressure, but through understanding. Chapter 6: The Invisible Balance in Human Interaction. Most people think success in communication comes from what they say in the moment, but in reality, much of it depends on something far less visible, a kind of unspoken balance that exists in every relationship. People constantly, even unconsciously, keep track of exchanges, not in a cold or calculating way, but as a natural sense of fairness. Who has given attention? Who has received it? Who has invested time? Who has shown interest? This creates an invisible rhythm in interactions. When someone important shows interest in you, the way you respond matters more than most people realize. If the reaction is too self-focused or rushed, the opportunity to build something meaningful can quietly disappear. Strong communicators understand timing. They don't treat every moment as a chance to push their own agenda. Instead, they recognize when the other person's attention itself is the valuable thing and respond in a way that preserves that moment. There is also a difference between taking and building. Some people enter conversations trying to extract immediate value, answers, favors, opportunities. Others focus first on connection, allowing trust and interest to develop naturally before asking for anything in return. The second approach tends to create stronger long-term outcomes. Another important aspect is awareness of social weight. Not all interactions carry the same level of importance. A casual conversation is not the same as speaking with someone influential or emotionally significant. Treating every interaction with the same level of urgency or demand can weaken potential relationships. Sometimes the most powerful move is patience. Letting interest grow instead of forcing direction often leads to better opportunities than trying to control the outcome too early. Over time, people who develop this awareness begin to navigate social situations more smoothly. They respond instead of react. They observe instead of rush. They build instead of extract. And without forcing anything, their presence becomes easier for others to trust and engage with. In the end, communication is not just about technique. It is about awareness of timing, of balance, and of the quiet systems that guide human interaction beneath the surface. When this awareness becomes natural, conversations stop feeling like effort and start feeling like flow.